Caribbean lottery agent island-wide.
So play today.
Come, build with us at Hostels Building and Nevis Centers. We don't just sell materials, we help you build your dreams. Whether it's a new home, a renovation, or a DIY project, we're here to make it happen. That's why we say, build with us. From foundation to finish, come to our stores where we have the best in building materials, hardware, tools, paints, expert advice, and more. Whatever you need, you can count on us. So if you're ready to get started, build with us. With Hostels Building and Nevis Centers, you're not just building a structure, you're building a future. Let us help you create something amazing. Dream with us, plan with us, grow with us, build with us. Come build with us at Hostels Building and Nevis Centers today. Build with us at Hostels.
Magnum, my brand. Everybody put your Magnum in the air now. From you a drink Magnum, make me see. Take charge of things now your place now. From the river to the beach to the street. Hot Magnum and when me have in a me hand there. Give her a sipper, she tell me sweet. Look for me watch for your quick time check. Yeah. Right now a Magnum a for your beat. Enjoy yourself every day of the week with a Magnum. My life I forget sweeter. Must be 18 years and older to drink. Drink responsibly.
And a pleasant good day to you and yours. The time is approximately 6 minutes moving away from the 8 o'clock hour. And as you know, when you hear my voice first off, you know that Hortensia will not be in today, but the Almighty Creator sparing our lives, she should be back with us tomorrow. So for today, you're going to be stuck with my boring monotony. Well, that's all that we can do. Today is the 17th of February in the year 2026, and it seems as if though we just concluded last year and we're already fast approaching the end of the second month. My, how time flies, especially when you're getting older and you seem to have so many things you need to get done. For those of you who are in tuned, thank you for being in tuned, and if you wish to interact at any point, feel free to do so. The numbers are 4660989, 6620989, 7620989, in the UK 033-344-0065, in the US of A 718-285-6984. In Canada, 305-921-4619. Bear in mind that not all of those numbers will be working, but if you try one and it doesn't, feel free to try another, and most likely you will eventually get through on someone of those numbers. Again, welcome to Island Tea. Don't forget that at 1:30 we will be having Dr. Osborne back with us, and we all did miss her. So it's going to be good to have her in live and living color. So you can look forward to that. And let me see what the topic is that she will be delving in. For today, the topic will be heart disease and ischemic strokes, okay? Something that affects so many different individuals. So again, join us at hour, most precisely the doctor, who is well learned in this science, and she'll be speaking on heart disease and ischemic stroke. Until then, until then, let's get into whatever I can that will take us up to that time. Now, yesterday I spoke to the Chinese and their history of being black, and also the Japanese and their history of being black, and I spoke to the Chinese using the Buddha. And let me see if I can go into my phone here. Let me see if I can go into my phone here. Come on now. Okay. I'm trying to get in there, but it's... Okay, I'm there now. So yesterday when I spoke to the Buddha, someone sent a message to Cortensia, which she forwarded to me, and it says, "Please tell Mr. Quint that Chinese are not Buddhists. Buddhism is primarily found in the Indian subcontinent where it originated." Well, you're partly right, but the Chinese do deal in Buddhism, and what people must understand is that whereas Europe is steeped in mainly, let's say, the Christian religion, Asia, which incorporates India, China, Japan, those, they follow, all of those the three that I called, follow some form of Buddhism. And in case you don't believe me, I have a clip here that I will play so that you can be further enlightened.
The Lashan Giant Buddha is a huge stone statue of Maitreya, a future Buddha, located in Lashan City, Sichuan Province, China. The statue, which stands at 71 meters tall, was carved out of a cliff face overlooking the confluence of the Minjiang, Dadu, and Kuangyi rivers. It is the largest stone Buddha statue in the world and is a UNESCO World Heritage Site. The construction of the Lashan Giant Buddha began in the Tang Dynasty from 618 to 907 and was initiated by a Chinese monk named Hai Tong. Hai Tong conceived of the idea of carving a giant statue into the cliff face as a way to calm the turbulent waters of the rivers below, which were believed to be the cause of numerous boat accidents. The project was initially met with resistance from local officials who were concerned about the cost and feasibility of such an undertaking. However, Hai Tong persisted and eventually gained the support of the imperial court and the local population. The construction of the statue took more than 90 years to complete and was finished in 803 AD. During the Tang Dynasty, the statue was carved out of a single piece of red sandstone and was created by a team of artisans, stonemasons, and laborers. The statue features intricate details, such as the Buddha's coiled hair, which is made up of 1,021 buns, and the 3-meter-long eyebrows, which are made of woven copper. Over the centuries, the Lashan Giant Buddha has been damaged by natural disasters and human activity. The statue's head was destroyed by a Mongol invasion in the 14th century, but it was later restored. In recent years, pollution and weathering have also taken a toll on the statue, and preservation efforts have been undertaken to protect it. Today, the Lashan Giant Buddha is one of the most popular tourist attractions in China, attracting millions of visitors every year. It is considered a masterpiece of Chinese Buddhist art and a symbol of the country's rich cultural heritage.
The Great Buddha of Kamakura, a monumental bronze statue in Japan, is said to have survived several natural disasters and is considered a symbol of protection. Despite being located in an area prone to earthquakes and typhoons, the statue has stood strong for over 800 years.
And so you heard there for yourself. So though you may have been quite aware that the Buddha is in India, I realize you were not aware that it was also prominent in places like China and Japan. If you go to China or Japan, you will see Buddhas all over the place. Most people say that China is an atheist country, but they do practice forms of religion, and one of the main religions is Buddhism. Okay, so let me now see if I can engage someone on the phone lines here. Hello, caller.
Yes, good morning to you, Quinn.
Good day.
Yes, and greetings to you once more in Jesus Christ's name, the only Savior of sinners, by the gospel only, through faith only, according to the Bible only, and he who is the second person of the eternal, most blessed Trinity. Now, what I would like to say is this. If Buddha did not repent before he died, hell is his portion. You see, Satan is so tricky and so cunning that he gets us so caught up in worldly things. And nothing is bad about learning. Learning is good depending on the context it is done in. But Satan is so tricky according to the Bible that the Bible tells us beware of his evil schemes. And one of the things that Satan does is that he gets us so caught up in worldly things that we start to think that, you know, if we doesn't have this trait or that trait, we ain't a part of this or we ain't a part of that, etc., etc., that, or if we are part of this or if we are part of that we are somehow in the chosen of God, that we are God people and that sort of stuff. For example, you know, Satan get people of different so-called races, and because they feel that the people of their so-called races are the original, that they feel that they are part of God, chosen based upon their so-called race, be it white, black, Indian, Chinese, whatever. When we are actually missing the truth that once we are in Jesus Christ, we are saved from hell, and if we are outside of Jesus Christ and we don't repent, we will end up in hell. You know, he take our eyes off of that truth and fooled us and make us think that in order for us to be God's people, we have to be of this so-called race or this so-called group or this so-called whatever else other than being in Jesus Christ. So it is something that we have to wake up to via the Bible, by the Bible, to show us that the most important thing in life, is being in Jesus Christ, obeying the Bible, because that is the only how we're going to escape hell in Jesus Christ and be with Jesus Christ forever in his eternal, most blessed kingdom. So we need to come to the Bible truth, and we need to know these things. Because as Paul said, Paul was was a Hebrew. He was a Hebrew. He was of the tribe of Dan, and so on and so on. And Paul said he counts all of that to be rubbish in order to know Jesus Christ and be saved by Jesus Christ. Because in the end, that is what matters above all else and most importantly. And compared to knowing Jesus Christ and being saved by Jesus Christ, whatever color you be, whatever so-called race you be, whatever so-called nationality, family, or whatever you be, they're all rubbish compared to being in Jesus Christ and being saved by the blood of Christ.
But why is it
Okay.
why is it that your religion of Christianity, so-called Christianity, isn't rubbish? Why isn't it? Why is it that you feel so self-righteous that you can condemn everyone else and say that you're the right way? I don't know the right way. Why is it that you
Jesus
feel you
Christ
know the
said
right
he
way?
is the way. Jesus Christ said he is the way. And
Yeah,
so
but
once you know Jesus
but
Christ,
the same Jesus Christ you're speaking about, when they had the Nicene Council, it was to decide whether he was the Son of God or he was just a prophet. So over time, they have been deciding and coming to a decision as to who Jesus Christ was. But you chose to just pick it up and run with it and then condemn everyone else.
well, at the Council of Nicene, they just reaffirm who Jesus Christ is, that Christians
That is
before
a
them
lie.
has been teaching.
That is a lie, and
Well,
you know it is a lie. They did not just
is the
reaffirm.
truth, Quint.
They got together because it was undecided around the world as to who Jesus really was. And Constantine called that council so that the churches around the church, the Orthodox churches, could decide whether he was Jesus Christ, the Son of God, or not. And that is a fact.
People like Ignatius, I think Polycarp and others, long before Constantine ever born, were already teaching that Jesus Christ is God. You know,
But it was not
it is what you're
established.
saying is
But
not
it
true,
was
Quint.
not. But it was not established as a worldwide fact. That is what I'm saying, and you know it. And you know, it annoys me. It annoys me that you people are so self-righteous that you come and you give us lies and half-truths, but because you say that you're God's people,
No, Quint, it's you
everybody
who's
else
preaching
is
the
wrong.
lies, Quint.
Anyway, I'm not
Quint,
gonna
it's you
look.
who's preaching
I'm
the
not.
lies.
I'm
It
not
is
going
you
to. I'm not going to.
preaching the lies.
I'm not going to entertain continuing going around in circles. So, finish your point, please.
Yes. So, Jesus Christ, all who die outside of Jesus Christ and have not biblically repented, they will all end up in hell, including the Buddha and all others. And only those who die in Jesus Christ will be saved from hell and from their sins to be with Jesus Christ for all eternity in his eternal kingdom. And Jesus Christ is the way and the only way, the truth and the life according to the Bible. None other is such or are such. Thank you very much, Quint.
Sometimes, there you had it. Sometimes I try not to indulge Greg, but then, you know, I sometimes can't resist because he's so adamant in his own ignorance. I never profess to know, but there's so much I don't know. For instance, the doctor is here and she knows a science that I'm very much unaware of. So I don't go around professing I know this and I know that and then condemning everyone else because I'm learning every day, okay? And I wish that some other individuals who call themselves righteous would be humble enough to do the same. Anyway, enough of that. Considering what has been happening in the region in relation to Cuba, Venezuela also, but mainly in relation to Cuba, I'm really annoyed at the way the Caribbean, region has been quite silent. And people say, well, we're dealing with the US of A, mighty, powerful, and so we have no choice. There are always choices. The question is, having made a choice, are you ready to bear the consequences of such choice? It seems to me our Caribbean leaders feel that the life is and the world is supposed to be a dandy place where everything is just nice. And soon as they bump into some obstacle, they just acquiesce. Well, that's not the kind of leadership that we really need. Hello, caller?
Good morning. The reception in Bastille ain't too well, but we managed to hear in you all. Now, Quinn.
Well, quite
you
soon.
Know
Listen.
58th city in a CARICOM in Bastille. And we
Jam down.
petitions and
Jam
division
down.
and extension.
Jam down.
The Caribbean.
Jam
To
down.
the Cubans.
Jam down.
Give health care.
Jam
We
down.
want to acknowledge them in a big way.
Jam down
So
is
we are
something
asking
else.
everybody who cares about health in Sinket for 4 decades, Fidel, look out for us with health care throughout the Caribbean. And I think it's incumbent for us to don't play ungrateful and don't let politicians feel they can fool poor people no more. Because the players is in the field. And Jam don't back down. Have a good morning, Quinn and Cortensia. We love you all.
I was trying to say to you, Jam down, but you never, when you start speaking, you never give a time for anyone to have a conversation with you. You just go full steam ahead. I was trying to say to you that whatever problem you seem to be experiencing in the Bastille area, hopefully by, let's say, perhaps the end of next month, that should be completely nullified. Everything is a work in progress. Anyway, like I was saying, and Jam down kind of went there also, and the time is now 24 minutes moving away from the 8 o'clock hour. Let me see how, no, I won't be able to play that clip because it is too long. So let me see if I can find something that is shorter. Yes, I'm going to play this because recently when we had the Bad Bunny performance, especially all of those Americans were up in arms that were speaking a foreign language. He's speaking a foreign language, being unaware that we're all, having been colonialized, speaking a foreign language. So
Clearly, I hadn't heard of Bad Bunny because he hasn't delivered his content in a language that I can understand and consume, which I think was beautiful about the Super Bowl halftime show, having someone putting other folks in other folks' shoes saying, listen, you're going to hear some things, but it's not going to be tailored to the language that you speak in, and we're still going to take center stage. I think that that is beautiful. I know that historically there's this strong black-brown alliance that has always been in place because we've always listened to the same music and we've always experienced the same conditions here in North America, particularly these United States of America. But when we start thinking about Bad Bunny and the language piece, me speaking English right now is speaking a colonized tongue, and Bad Bunny speaking Spanish is speaking a colonized tongue.
Right.
I'm used to being around Chicanos. You know what I mean? I grew up with Chicanos.
Right.
Then all of a sudden, now all of a sudden we're talking Latinos.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it is strange how people can be so adamant and seemingly confident in their ignorance. Anyway, I'm going to segue and take a bit of a commercial break. And when we come on the other side, we should be getting into Weekly Dose.
WINN is 98.9. 98.9 is Win FM.
Magnum, my brand. Everybody put your Magnum in the air now. From you a drink Magnum, make me see. Take charge of things now your place now. From the river to the beach to the street. Hot Magnum when me have in a me hand there. Give her a sipper, she tell me sweet. Look for me watch for your quick time check. Yeah. Right now a Magnum a for your beat. Enjoy yourself every day of the week with a Magnum. My life I forget sweeter. Must be 18 years and older to drink. Drink responsibly.
Don't throw those bottles away. Turn them into money today. Vitamalt bottles equal cash in your pocket. It's super easy. Just take those empty Vitamalt bottles to any Cara Brewery distribution truck or any drinks depot in St. Kitts and Nevis. We're keeping our beautiful Twin Island paradise clean. Vitamalt bottles equal cash back. Keep it clean, keep it green. Vitamalt bottle returns. Your bottles, your cash, your island.
Here comes the Mega Ball. You could win more with the Mega Ball. Pick 3 and pick 4 and you could get all.
Yes, playing Pick 3 and Pick 4 with the Caribbean Lottery just got more rewarding. Now you can win more with the Mega
just an extra $1. Increase your winnings by $1,000 with the Pick 3 and a big $10,000 with the Pick 4. Don't wait, play today. Play Pick 3 and Pick 4 with the Mega Ball at Caribbean Lottery Agents island-wide.
You ready to win a little extra?
Then get on the ball. Must be 21 and over to play.
Hey kids, it's chubby time. I have to go to school and learn and play with my friends too. Every day is fun day, 'cause I love my chubby, chubby. Chubby, 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 chubby. Lots of flavors for me to choose. Every day they keep me cool. It fits my handmade just for me. Everybody loves chubby. Chubby, 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 chubby. Every day is fun day. Chubby.
And welcome back. Welcome to Weekly Dose, where we break down health topics into practical steps that you can use. Today we're speaking about something that affects millions worldwide, heart disease and ischemic stroke. With us is Dr. Osborne, a general surgeon who focuses mainly on prevention and community health. Good day, Dr. Osborne, and welcome.
Hi, good morning. Good day, everyone. Thank you. So it's a pleasure to be here. And so this is a very important conversation because many heart attacks and strokes are preventable. And you would ask me, Quint, why did I bring this topic today? I'm always inspired by patients, and I will give you a brief story. Because I saw a female who was 69 recently, and she complained of having difficulties and lapse in memory. So she had that, and she also gave a history that she fell while working, I think in December, and she hit the back of her head. At that point, she was given a CT scan, which was reported as normal. But then as time passed, she spoke about having lapse in memory. So she would just be there and she'd be would have lost the words she wanted to say, and is just not recalling things that she should know on a daily basis. And so she had that concern. And I said to her, well, let's repeat the CT scan and just to ensure that there is nothing there. And the CT scan revealed that this lady at 69 with a history of having diabetes, high cholesterol, and having high blood pressure, and she was also obese. She had what we call multiple small strokes or infarcts in her brain, in the frontal lobe and in the lobe that we call the parietal lobe. And this topic I consider extremely important because it happens very frequently in our community, because diabetes and hypertension are something that we see quite often, and those are two of the leading factors, and high cholesterol that leads to heart disease and things like stroke. So that's what prompted the discussion today.
Okay, how common is heart disease?
Well, Quint, I want you and our audience to know heart disease is the leading cause of death in the world today, all right? It's estimated that 17 to 20 million deaths per year is as a result of cardiovascular disease, so results of damage to the heart or the blood vessels. About 85% of these deaths are from heart attacks and also from strokes. So this data is from the World Health Organization. So reminding persons are estimated 17 to 20 million deaths per year as a result of cardiovascular disease. All right?
Well, we have a tendency to think that heart disease and strokes are separate. Are they really?
Well, not at all. The heart and brain are closely connected because of the blood vessels. So think about this. When the blood pressure increases, it's like that force that pushes through the blood vessels and it causes damage to these blood vessels. And when a person has high cholesterol, that bad cholesterol deposits in the blood vessels, especially the blood vessels that are damaged, and form what we call that plaque. And what happens, that plaque narrows the blood vessel, making it much more difficult for blood to get to a particular area. And also, that plaque can break off and go from one area, one part of the blood vessel to another. And if it goes to an area where the blood vessel, the opening is much narrower, it can get stuck there. And if it gets stuck, it blocks off the blood supply to that particular area. So you want to think about it like that. They are very related. So if there is plaque that develops inside the blood vessels in the heart or in the brain, that can lead to heart disease or it can lead to a stroke.
So it then seems as if though protecting the heart has a link with protecting the brain.
Yeah, that's an excellent point, because yes, what is good for the heart is going to be good for the brain.
Let's talk specifically about ischemic stroke. What is it?
So ischemic, that's the word. Ischemic.
Okay,
there are two main types of stroke.
Thanks for that correction there. Ischemic.
It can be hemorrhagic or it can be ischemic, all right? So what happens, as I was explaining earlier, is that the blood vessels to the brain gets blocked off by a clot. So that plaque, that fatty deposits of cholesterol and hardening tissue like calcium, it is deposited in the blood vessels. And with the sheer force of the blood forcing through, because the blood pressure is high, it can break off piece of that plaque and form that clot, and it goes to the blood vessels. And anywhere it gets lodged or stuck, wherever that is, in the brain, that area no longer gets enough supply, blood to it, and we know that every area of the body, every living tissue needs blood and oxygen and nutrients for it to survive. So in that particular area that is not supplied with adequate amount of blood, that area dies off, and that is how we get a stroke. So anything like our patient that I mentioned earlier, if there is multiple areas where she had infarcts or stroke, is because the blood supply to those areas was cut off at some point.
Okay, and this can happen without a warning?
Yes. I can emphasize this, yes, because this is going to be the heart of my message today, Quint. Because a lot of times people have no symptoms until they have a stroke. That is why prevention and screening is important. More persons do not go to see a physician unless they have a symptom. But we have to have more screening. You need to go and see your healthcare provider, get your blood pressure checked, get your cholesterol level check overall, so you can ensure that there is no changes going on.
And who should be checking their blood pressure?
Quint, who should be checking their blood pressure is anybody, especially ones who are over the age of 40. If you have diabetes, if you're overweight, you smoke, or if you have family history of having heart disease or stroke or anything, you should be checking it regularly at home or at a health center. You've got to know your numbers. You cannot say, because persons will sit across from me at the office and say, well, I've never had a problem with my blood pressure. And I'll also ask, well, have you checked your blood pressure? And you've got to know your numbers, because most times you will not, or you may not have symptoms in the early stage, but your blood pressure can be above the normal limits. And then you do not know unless you check. So you've got to know your numbers.
Let's bring cholesterol into the picture.
Yes. So we often hear about this thing called cholesterol. So the bad cholesterol cholesterol and good cholesterol, but mostly the bad cholesterol, the LDL, what does that do? That takes cholesterol away from the liver and it deposits it into the blood vessels. That builds up what we call the plaque or atherosclerotic plaque that deposits that inside of the blood vessels. And that is what leads to the narrowing of the blood vessels, leading to decreased flow to a particular area, giving you heart disease, kidney disease, stroke, because remember, if this blood vessel can be damaged in the heart, it can also be damaged in the brain. It can also be damaged in your extremities, like your legs, your limbs, because of the high cholesterol, okay? And so it is important to have your cholesterol check as well, because that number you're not going to know without getting it checked. And persons, it's not just enough to say that I eat well, because even as we get older, there are changes taking place in our bodies, and our cholesterol oftentimes level goes up and becomes abnormally elevated.
So it would seem as if the cholesterol checking or screening is just as important as blood pressure checking.
Yes, of course, because you cannot know or you cannot tell what is your cholesterol level unless you check. And that is one of the bigger risk factors associated with heart disease and stroke. So you need to know what your cholesterol level is. Once you're above the age of 40, you need to get annual screenings. Check in with your doctor. It's a simple blood test that you can get done and see where your numbers are and make the necessary changes as needed.
What are the main risk factors associated with heart and brain health?
So we talk often about heart disease, cardiovascular disease. You're going to hear words like that. Strokes. What are the main risk factors? We've spoken many times about them. Having high blood pressure. This is one of the biggest problems in our communities because persons are not keeping a check and doing their wellness check with their healthcare providers. They do not know that their blood pressures are high, and they walk around with higher than normal blood pressures, and that is causing damage to the blood vessels. And hypertension or high blood pressure affects 1 in 3 individuals worldwide. All right? And it is responsible for approximately 50% of heart disease and stroke. Apart from your high blood pressure, you have high cholesterol. We've mentioned that. It is strongly linked to the buildup of plaque inside of your blood vessels that leads to the damage that causes heart disease, causes stroke, and even things like kidney failure. Diabetes is another one too, because diabetes or quadruple, so 2 times or 4x heart disease. So if you have high blood pressure and you also have diabetes, your chances of developing or having heart disease increases significantly. Smoking. We talk about smoking can increase your risk of heart disease or having a heart attack 2x up to 4x than someone who does not smoke. So it's an important risk factor. Physical inactivity and poor diet. If you have a poor diet that is high in salty food, high in fatty food, saturated fats, of course that's going to increase your cholesterol, etc., increase your blood pressure, and that can lead to heart disease and having stroke. We also speak about obesity. Once a person is obese, oftentimes it may not directly be their fault, because we know now that obesity is a disease in of itself, because there are lots of genetic risk factors, but obesity increases your risk of developing heart disease or stroke. And poor diet, we know that. Diet high in salt, diet high in saturated fats, and lots of sugars.
Once someone knows their numbers, what can they do to reduce the risk of heart disease and stroke?
I like that you said, Quinn, that they need to know their numbers. One of the biggest things is that we need to know our numbers. Persons aren't getting their wellness check. So they assume, oh, I don't feel anything, all is well. Remember, we've spoken oftentimes high blood pressure as what? A silent killer, because you will not know that your blood pressure is high until you have it checked. So you need to get your blood pressure checked. of course. You want to eat less salty foods and processed foods. Today, our supermarkets are filled with these processed food because they're easy, they're convenient, we're working longer hours, and you want to get something that's quick at the end of the day. So we're turning away from eating healthy and cooking healthier foods to something that is quick and easy to get at. You want to reduce your saturated fats and sugary drinks. We consume much more sugars than we realize. If you get these bottled juices, you realize that if you look at the tab, 38 grams of sugar in just one serving, and the juice is said to contain 2 servings, but we end up using or consuming that juice by ourselves in one sitting. So we've consumed double the amount of sugar that we need. So we want to eat healthier fruits and vegetables. That is to help prevent that developing heart disease. You want to exercise at least 30 minutes per day. You want to stop smoking if you're a smoker. And if you have diabetes or at risk for diabetes, you want to make those necessary changes. Use your medication if you're diabetic. If you're pre-diabetic or have a family history, you want to ensure that you cut back on your starchy foods and ensure that your sugar consumption is decreased. And manage your stress. It's very important to manage your stress and get enough sleep.
Are medications necessary to prevent heart disease and stroke?
Yes. Oftentimes, as healthcare workers, we have to battle with our patients because they're ill and they are refusing to take medication. We know that the best way in an ideal situation is to control it through all the means that we spoke earlier about, through exercise, through diet, to ensuring that you have a well-balanced diet. But there are persons who need the additional support through medications to control their blood sugars, to control their blood pressures. So we know that medication reduces a stroke by 35 to 40% and heart disease by 20 to 25%. So if you're diabetic or if you're hypertensive or if you have high cholesterol, it is important that you take your medication so that you do not have any of these events like our aforementioned patient, because that's the problem. Persons who have health issues or health ailments are not being, how can I put it, are not being aggressive enough in making sure that they use their medication in the correct way because it is necessary at times. In a perfect world, we will not need any medication, but we're not in that perfect world. So if your cholesterol is high, above a certain threshold, your doctor may recommend. Diet is not enough at this point because you're an older individual and you may need to take medication for your for your high cholesterol. The same way with your diabetes, so you can prevent the complications.
Even with prevention, what should people look for to recognize stroke symptoms?
There is a or acronym. And it simply means the facial drooping. So if you're at home with any of your family member and you realize that the one side of their face is drooping, all right, especially the side of their lips, you see that it's drooping, hanging down, and they're drooling. And if one particular arm gets weak and you realize they can't hold a cup, they were holding a cup of tea and that falls from their hand. If their speech becomes slurred or difficult to understand, and the T, it means time to seek emergency attention. So don't wait. If someone starts slurring words, difficulty speaking, their tongues appear heavy, their face is drooping on one particular side, their arms become weaker, heavy, it is time to call emergency service because immediate or quick intervention can lead to a better outcome and save extra brain tissue.
What are the common signs of heart attack?
It is also important because we continuously, in our small island, we lose lots of our citizens as a result of heart attacks as well. So you want to keep this in mind. You're looking for tightness or pain or a discomfort in the chest, that heavy sensation that you know this is not normal. You can have pain that spreads or moves down the arm, especially the left arm, or the jaw, the left side of your jaw, or your shoulder, or your upper back, especially in that left side, you have those heaviness or pain or discomfort there. You may have some shortness of breath as well, that you're gasping for breath. You may start to sweat, what we call breakout in cold sweat. You can have some nausea, you'll feel like you want to vomit, or you have dizziness, or even you're feeling tired as you move around. Those are not normal signs. And women especially, we have a high increase of having heart disease and death as a result of heart disease. So we have to keep these signs in mind.
Women have them more frequently than men? More?
Yeah, women has a very high incidence. Actually, February is Heart Disease Month. We celebrate, encourage awareness for heart health in the month of February. Women can have heart disease oftentimes at a much higher rate than men.
Okay, so we're fast approaching the end. What is your final message to our listening audience?
My final message, Quint, is that our audience, if they don't learn anything at all today, it is important to know your numbers. Check your blood pressure. High blood pressure is a silent disease. You do not know that your blood pressure is high unless you check it. So you cannot assume. Oftentimes patients sit across from me and they say, well, I didn't know my pressure was high. Then I would ask, when was the last time you've checked it? And they'll say years they have not had their blood pressure checked, or months. So you do not know that there are changes. And as we get older, Quint, there are changes in our blood vessels. When you're young, your blood vessels can dilate and contract and adjust for the volume of blood that is forcing through it. As we get older, these same blood vessels become hardened by these plaque deposits, these calcium deposits, and they do not relax and distend. So the elasticity, like a pant or skirt, it has that elastic band in it. The blood vessels are like that. Over time, they do not expand or relax as they used to when we were older. And so then your blood pressure naturally will increase as you age in many persons. So it is important to understand that you need to have your blood pressure checked. You also need to have your cholesterol levels checked, because you will not know that your cholesterol is high unless you get that checked. So getting your simple annual screenings are important so that you can prevent heart disease or prevent stroke even before any of the symptoms appear.
Okay, as usual, very enlightening and very informative. And like I said, I learn every day, every time you come in here. So thanks for gracing our studios, and we did miss you, and I did miss you, so good to have you here. And we're looking forward to seeing you in the future and you bringing these very enlightening topics to us. So ladies and gentlemen, that was our presentation of Weekly Dose for today. Is there anything else on your mind you want to say? We do have a few minutes.
Oh, well, on my mind, it's good to be back. I was out for quite a while because I traveled for some to do a course. So it's always good as a physician to find ways to improve your skills and to always advance. So that's why I was out for the entire month of January. But it's good to be back with my people. I was in Mexico City, to be honest, and it was a very, very beautiful time. And I learned a lot culturally as well, too. But, Quint, I always realize there's no place like home. No matter where you are, you want to come home. So it was good. I was treated well. I had good support in the hospital system. I was surrounded by great teachers and persons who encouraged me to be better. So, but at the end of the day, home is where the heart is. So I was happy to come back to be here with my people. And I'm happy to be back. And I hope when we speak, it doesn't fall on deaf ear, Quint, because it is important that we work a lot more on the prevention side, because we speak about how healthcare is very expensive, sometimes inaccessible to some persons. And if you can prevent and we stay ahead of it, we don't get to a point that we have individuals who need medical intervention that we're unable to provide here, persons who have stroke that leaves them paralyzed for the rest of their lives, that alters their whole life and their whole family dynamic. So we want to make sure that that doesn't happen. So I encourage our persons, the health centers are there. In St. Kitts, we have access, because when I traveled as well too, I sat with doctors and I saw persons having difficulty getting appointment because you're in a community, in a city with 9 million plus people, and your appointment is going to be 3 months. I saw a lady open her eyes when she was told that her appointment, we saw her in January, and her appointment was not going to be until April. And you can walk into a physician's office here any day, every day here. At some point, somebody would see you. We've got the health centers, and I think we're not accessing our healthcare services enough as a form of prevention. So we want to get back to the basic of preventing. Just having your blood pressure checked can alert you. Having your cholesterol checked can alert you. So that's my message to our people, and I'm such a proud Kittitian. I'm very patriotic, so I'm happy to be here with my people.
Well, let me on behalf of WinFM and myself say welcome back. And ladies and gentlemen, remember the message is take care of your heart, and by doing so you take care of your brain.
Yes.
We'll see you again next week.
We're different. We're 98.9. 98.9. Win FM.
Caribbean numbers come and play. Just one single dollar, that is the way. You can pick one number or two or three. I win up to 20,000, you see. 3 ways to play, 3 draws a day, 3 ways to win. Hear what we say. Caribbean numbers is the easiest game to play.
The new Caribbean numbers.
So play today.
At any Caribbean lottery agent island-wide.
So play today.
Come, build with us at Hostels Building and Nevis Centers. We don't just sell materials, we help you build your dreams. Whether it's a new home, a renovation, or a DIY project, we're here to make it happen. That's why we say, build with us. From foundation to finish, come to our stores where we have the best in building materials, hardware, tools, paints, expert advice, and more. Whatever you need, you can count on us. So if you're ready to get started, build with us. With Hostels Building and Nevis Centers, you're not just building a structure, you're building a future. Let us help you create something amazing. Dream with us, plan with us, grow with us, build with us. Come build with us at Hostels Building and Nevis Centers today. Build with us at Hostels.
If you need protection, you need one who you can trust to secure your investment. You need one who'll do you just. TDC Insurance, you're the one that you can trust. TDC Insurance, you're always safe with us.
TDC Insurance is your go-to insurance company for all your insurance needs. We take pride in offering you the best solutions and ensuring our customers are fully satisfied. TDC Insurance, we take good care of you, guaranteeing you peace of mind.
You're always safe with us.
The holidays just got a whole lot brighter with the new $5 Holiday Stash scratch ticket. It's easy to play, packed with $1,000 prizes and many chances for you to win big this holiday season. So go ahead, treat yourself, spread some cheer, and stack some cash. Play Holiday Stash today at Caribbean lottery agents and vending machines island-wide. Must be 21 years and older to play. Please play responsibly.
And welcome back. The time is 8:57, and very, very enlightening discussion as per usual with Dr. Natalie Osborne, and it was a pleasure to have her grace our studios with her radiance and her knowledge. Okay, so where do I, yes, before that Daily Dose session there, I said there was a particular clip I wanted to play, but I didn't because it would have been long and it would have encroached on the good doctor's time, and we do not really want that. But now I'm going to play it, and it is in relation to Cuba, and like I said, I'm very, very, downheartened to see how we as a Caribbean region can just cut off ourselves from our neighbors because some bully says, don't do this and don't do that. And we all thought that we were living in a democracy. It's rather interesting and rather strange to wake up to the realization that, hey, this so-called democracy is really a dictatorship. Because what else can you call it other than a dictatorship when some power says to you, don't send your doctors here, don't send your students here, get back your students from there, and all this kind of nonsense. I mean, how would they like if someone was in a position to just impose their will upon them and say, do this, do that, jump when we say jump? And no. We cannot. And it's good to see that there are still some individuals around the world who, though very few, who will stand up and help our brothers and sisters when they really need it. It is sad, though, to see that those who have been accommodated and assisted can just so easily turn their backs.
Trump is strangling Cuba. They're doing a thing called siege warfare. That's an international war crime. They've cut off all the fuel. They've sanctioned every country if you do business with them, meaning if you trade with Cuba, if you send them medicine, if you send them food, if you send them baby formula, if you send them fuel, if you send them oil, if you do anything, the United States is going to crush you economically, right? Because we are the reserve currency of the world. We have that power. We still sanction people. During COVID, Cuba did nothing but help other countries around the world, often for free. They would export their doctors. Now those same countries are lining up to impose U.S. blockade on it. They're being crushed. They don't have food. They don't have fuel. They can't run their hospitals. They can't run their schools. Nothing. They don't have energy to light their street lights. Nothing. So we're doing exactly what Israel does to the Gazans. Instead of wiping them out all completely, we give them just enough. The U.S. is sending small fuel shipment to Cuba after blockading the island supply, cooking gas, diesel, to keep water flowing. So you got to have power or else people don't have drinking water, and then you die immediately. We're suffocating them, but not to the point of mass death. We're the terrorists. Wow, like the U.S. is taking a page out of the Israelis' playbook. Control everything in and out of Cuba, just like Israel does, control everything in and out of Gaza, which is why they can starve them, they can cut off their water, cut off their fuel, cut off everything. Guess who's coming to the rescue? Russia. Russia is going to supply Cuba with oil. Russia is preparing to send a shipment of oil and petroleum products to Cuba. Moscow's embassy in Havana has announced. The island is facing its worst energy crisis in years after the U.S. doubled down on its campaign to cut off its energy supplies. The fuel crisis intensified dramatically after U.S. forces kidnapped, oh, thank God somebody's using the real language. They kidnapped Venezuelan President Maduro in early January, severing oil supplies from Caracas, which had been one of Cuba's main suppliers. Washington subsequently threatened to impose tariffs on any country providing oil to Cuba, with Mexico later suspending crude shipments to the island. So even Mexico's knuckling under. The U.S. itself has maintained an economic embargo on Cuba since the 1960s. The Russian embassy in Cuba confirmed that the Caribbean island is facing an acute shortage of oil and petroleum products, adding that while the crisis has lasted for more than a year, the stop of supplies from Venezuela has aggravated the situation. The embassy said it is planning to send oil and petroleum products to Cuba in the near future as humanitarian aid, without specifying the time frame or the volumes. Cuba is believed to be down to just 3 months' reserves of oil supplies. Shipping from Russia to Cuba generally takes approximately 40 to 50 days, including loading and unloading times. The last major Russian oil delivery to Cuba occurred in February 2025 when Moscow sent 100,000 tons through a state credit worth U.S. $60 million approved by President Vladimir Putin. Cuba is estimated to consume 500 to 600 tons of fuel per day, and it requires over 8 million tons of fuel per year to function normally. In addition, Russian officials reported that Moscow is assisting Cuba in developing its domestic oil reserves. While the island's proven crude oil reserves are officially around 120 million barrels, the offshore zone of the North Cuba Basin is estimated to hold up to 20 billion barrels, or the equivalent of about 146 billion tons, enough to satisfy Cuba's domestic needs for 650 years. China is also assisting by installing extensive solar power projects, aiming to build 92 solar parks by 2028 and add 2,000 megawatts to the grid. The initiative, largely financed via Chinese development credits, features Yangtze Ecology and Energy Development Company building infrastructure, with the first major projects already connected to the grid in early 2025, thus reducing Cuba's dependence on U.S.-controlled oil supplies. Moscow has condemned the U.S. pressure campaign on Cuba as economic strangulation and neocolonial practice, while reaffirming solidarity with the island. U.S. President Donald Trump said last month that the pressure campaign would force the Cuban leadership to come to us and want to make a deal, claiming that the island would be free again. Wow. When Trump says he wants Cuba to come make a deal, he means turn the country over to U.S. economic hitmen. That's what he means. He certainly doesn't mean install democracy, because the last thing the United States likes are countries that have democracy that can vote their way out of an imperial situation. The United States, we like strongmen and dictators. That's what we like doing business with. And often will overthrow democratically elected governments and install a puppet, a strongman, like Pinochet, like we did in Chile. However, humanitarian concerns are rising globally as Cuban hospitals are now having to close. They're closing hospitals. We're not bombing their hospitals like Israel did in Gaza, but we're just starving them of power so they can't function. Water supplies are turned off due to lack of fuel for pumping both fresh and sewage water. And the threat of major pandemics such as cholera increases, with Washington likely to be seen as culpable if this does happen. Well, they're trying to keep it just below a mass killing. And so, again, the United States are the terrorists, just like we are, just like we were in Iraq, just like we were in Libya, just like we were in Somalia, just like we were in Syria, in Yemen, in Iran, just like we're in Afghanistan, now just like we were in Venezuela, and now we are in Cuba. Not going to be, we are. We're doing it. This is the same kind of illegal siege warfare, which is a war crime that Israel does to the Gazans. We're doing it to Cuba.
Yeah, and notice he said we. So that means he is an American citizen, and it is good to know that not all Americans agree with this kind of inhumane and vicious way of dealing with human beings. Why? Because they have a different ideology to yours? I thought we were in a democracy. And it is quite amazing to see how so many individuals, even right here in our region, would tend to turn a blind eye to this complete and utter nonsense. And the least I would expect from our leaders is to at least say, look, the United States, we will not get involved in whatever your ideologies and policies are, but what we will say is that on a humanitarian level, we will not isolate ourselves from our neighbor, especially a neighbor who has been there when we needed them and who has been very, very kind. Hello, caller.
Yes, hello.
Go ahead.
Yeah, Chris. Good morning, man. How you doing, man?
I'm fine, thank you. And you?
Yeah, very interesting clip, man. The master of the clips. Geopolitics in the world is changed, like Black Mahon says. We're not gonna go backwards. They're gonna go forward with this stuff. It's gonna get worse for us. The Caribbean leaders, they don't want to unite. They don't want to speak as one voice. And Marco Rubio was
speaking of unite, I'm going to play a clip after you that speaks to what the rest of the world is doing. And if our own Caribbean leaders would only stop and realize what is happening. Recently, an American journalist sat down with some African leaders, about 3 of them, and he tried to sway the topic in a way to embarrass them. And he walked away the one embarrassed, because we are seeing that the Africa is in its own way forming ways of alliances and uniting.
Yes, that's correct. Irfan Ali had an interview with a UK reporter as well. I think Mia Motley might have had one too. You played some Mia Motley clips, top of this year, last year, whatever. And and these guys either is seeing and they turning the blind eye, like you said. We know they don't care. They in the region, they all have failed people. But when we come back home to St. Kitts and Nevis in our small space, the problem is in St. Kitts and Nevis is that party politics. We are divided. The amount of money these guys collected over the years with that CBI program, we don't have an idea how much money it is. The money is so large and in charge. They mismanage the money. Some of the money is still out there. Who's going to collect that money that's still out there? But the monies that they got in Bastille should have St. Kitts and Nevis in tip-top shape. No doubt about it. And when you don't listen to Gani, we're going to feel that mismanagement of that money. We are going to suffer and pay for that because we had the money already. Marco Rubio, I believe, was at the last CARICOM meeting. I stand corrected. I can't really remember that far. I can't remember really, but if anybody can chime in and let me know if I'm correct or if I'm incorrect. I'm seeing clips that he may be present in St. Kitts for this upcoming CARICOM heads of leaders. We wait and watch and see.
Marco Rubio? Marco Rubio?
Yes. I'm seeing clips already saying that he might show up.
Why should he be here? I mean, if he comes here during a session like that would be nothing other than intimidation. This again is where our leaders are lacking. If you're having a CARICOM sitting heads of government, why should he be there?
Yes, and he's not a member state.
He should not be there.
He's not representing a member state, and I'm agreeing with you.
If he is in the vicinity on another purpose,
venture,
well,
like an outing or whatever.
Yeah, no problem. But
diplomatic meeting or something.
But he should not be in any way a part of any sitting of this session that is coming up. No way should he be there, because then it means
I will have to wait and watch the ride and see if that happens.
It would then mean that there is no real privacy as to what is going to be discussed.
Discussed by the members.
That sounds rather far-fetched to me, right? It could be just one of those things being bandied about. Hopefully that is the case.
Yes, hopefully, and I'll stand on your side with that. We wait and watch and see. We don't know what the future holds, but I've heard that a military plane touched down in St. Kitts over the weekend, and in my humble opinion, our Prime Minister should say something about that. He should bring the transparency and keep the citizens up to speed. Why is a military plane touching down in St. Kitts if that was true? Did that plane bring the deportees them in? I mean, If I was the prime minister, bro, honestly, I would have been straightforward with the people. Because you see, the character is going to weigh on him. The principle is going to weigh on him. The personal character and principle is going to weigh on him.
Well, I'm not aware of such happenings, and I don't make comments on things that I'm not aware of. Like I said, times like these, all kind of things will be bandied about. There will be all kind of speculations and rumors. Some also there'll be some facts that we are not enlightened about. But I will not venture to delve into things that I'm not aware of.
Yeah, I'm only putting it out there to see if anyone can come forward with that information. And I'm going to agree with you as well. The propaganda machine is working heavily out here right now. You know, I'm not physically present on the islands, but we trying to get up to speed and stay current with the events. But I'm going to agree with you. Definitely, there's a lot of stuff out there. We got to sift through it. But anyway, maybe lastly, I'll say concerning the clip that you just played, we are probably being boxed in, by the policies of the United States, the immigration policies. They're frozen the specific visa categories, and here we are.
We're not being boxed in. They're trying to box us in. Whether we're boxed in or not depends on our leaders. There's a whole big wide world. We have options. We need to stop. Yes. We need to stop feeling that a country that has been showing. Imagine you're going to say to your look. I heard something where I think it was Jamaica was trying to put pressure. Perhaps this is another rumor, but I heard that Jamaica was trying to put pressure on Cuba to expedite the students getting their diplomas and that kind of stuff. That is nonsense. If it is true, I think again it might be a rumor. But if your student has not finished their tenure of studies, you expect them to be given a documentation when you're so coward that you can't tell the U.S., well, look, I've got students over there, I'm going to let them finish their studies. I mean, no balls, no galls whatsoever. I would have said to the U.S., whoever, I would have said, look, I hear you. I hear what you're saying, but my students are over there. They're poor students. This is the only way they have these opportunities. I'm not going to pull them back to do what? Are you going to take them in your universities? And look, even if the U.S. was to come now and start making promises, beware of them, because they have a history, along with Europe, of signing treaties, watching you straight in your face, and then not living up to them. So I would have said, let my students finish their studies there. I'm not going to put pressure on Cuba about expedite them getting their degrees. Nonsense.
Jamaica also, I seen a clip saying that they are willing to take their students back if that situation, falls through for their students over there in Cuba.
I understand that Cuba is going through some pressure. But what the Caribbean should be doing is what Mexico and Russia and China are doing. Help them in whatever way you can, because when you help them in whatever way you can, we can't give them oil, but we can give them supplies and food stuff and so forth. And in helping them, you're helping your students to finish their studies. Get together and help them.
Definitely, we should be giving them support, because it can happen to any of us at any time. We should definitely be trying to give them support. But we'll watch and see where this stuff gonna go, man. But we should not let America box us in. There's options out there. America is not the only place in the world. We should never let them box us in. And to bring it home, and I'll try to let somebody else come in, is we gotta understand, our leaders gotta understand, we gotta get self-sufficient in food, because we are watching this stuff playing out in front of our eyes.
And let's not forget this SSZ, because even though I might not speak on it too often, it is a thorn in our flesh. My understanding, I don't know how true it is, but it seems as if though I'm hearing that Mark has already signed off on it, and now he's looking towards the federal government to finish whatever. And this is a thought. Can't you see what is happening in the region and see where we're heading when we allow this kind of things? When we allow people, could you imagine if they were already here and they had already set up their whatever and their, you understand the predicament we would be in? Because then the U.S. can simply say, look, we're coming here. You can't tell us we're coming in the interest of our citizens. We've got to be very careful. Let not some individuals look at what it will profit them financially and to the detriment of our federation. Okay? This is what we're seeing. We're seeing where individuals are looking at how it will benefit them, how it will line their pockets, what kind of financial benefits they will get to the long term, and I repeat again, to the long term detriment of our economy. What you leaders should be doing is to be empowering your people, building up your internal infrastructure, and making sure that you're putting proper feelers out there to move away from this citizenship by investment thing. What were we doing before this citizenship by investment? How did we survive?
You're correct. You're absolutely correct, Grant, because you see, the Prime Minister himself can talk all day long about diversification, but they are running around like a chicken without heads, trying to appease the higher power about the CBI. They're trying to make all type of adjustments to please outsiders, not us locally. You know, we gotta start putting that investment into agriculture and bringing our nation up to speed.
Imagine the World Bank and the IMF telling little Caribbean countries not to sell their own land, our own land, to its people, but to leave that land there so that foreign interests can come in, get it at a downplayed price, build up something, and then live in there tax-free while you're putting tax on your people who are struggling. What kind of nonsense is this? This is simple common sense.
And the thing about it, Quinn, when it comes to taxes, right, you see we got these gadgets in our hands they call cell phones. We don't really own these cell phones. We're just paying the bill. The small plots of land that we own in St. Kitts and Nevis, in the villages and stuff like that, they're going to kill us with taxes when the big conglomerates them come in, and they are not paying their fair share of taxes. We're going to be holding the system up. The people of St. Kitts and Nevis should never stand for that destiny.
Hold a second. There's another caller. Hello, caller.
Good morning. Good morning.
Good day. How are you?
If Mac Mahon can allow me, please. Good morning, Mac Mahon, man. Let me just wrap up 30 seconds, man.
Yeah.
That Destiny Project over on Nevis, we should never stand for that. We are taking our lands. We're not even selling them, bro. We're like they're just taking them and giving them away. But I wish the people the best going forward, and I'll keep this thing off the air, man. Thanks a lot, man.
Okay. Well, back to you, Miss Mac Mahon.
Yes. One of the things that we have not really discussed is what the present situation is having on that same Destiny project, actually. Okay? Because it must be given the politicians who are in favor of this second thoughts. Because there are some other implications.
It should be. Especially when you see what's happening, and especially when you see what the U.S. is trying to do to us, this should make you have second and third and fourth thoughts.
Exactly. Because could you imagine an area of the Federation that is, for all intents and purposes, autonomous, consisting of foreigners, and wherever they're from can decide, well, they're facing some kind of hostile weather. The
the indigenous population don't really want them, and they are expressing it, can say that they are threatened, and therefore they have to come in to take care of their own.
Yeah. And maybe,
that's
maybe,
I mean, and it has. And by the way, it has been done. I mean,
maybe,
that was one of
maybe,
the-
Mr. McMahon, that is the intent. You know, these people don't do anything without a long-term plan. We seem to be the only set of people, as black people in the Caribbean, who just do things on the spur of the moment. These people plan ahead.
Yeah, and like I said, it has been done in the past. I mean, that was one of the rationales for going into Grenada, right? Remember?
Yeah.
I mean, you know, we welcome investment, but you know, make sure that whatever the terms and conditions are not going to be detrimental to us now or in the future, right? With regards the possibility, I saw it too on social media that Rubio might be coming. And if that's the case, bad thing. What would be interesting is to know whether or not he was invited or he asked to be here. Right?
Knowing how these people think, and watching him, look at him and check his body language. He's very arrogant. I think he just feels that he's in a position to do what he wants, and so far the Caribbean leaders have shown him that he can do it and get away with it.
Well, it would be interesting to see what exactly is on the agenda. I saw some items. I don't know if that's all. And some of the items, I'm not so sure Rubio would be attending those sessions where they're discussing those items, right? I think it's a three-day heads conference.
Yeah, I would have to be proven wrong. I honestly don't believe that if he comes here that it would be anything to do with the heads of government. I don't think so. Because to me, let me ask you, does it really make any sense?
No, well, actually, I think it makes sense in the sense that if all the leaders are gathered in the region are gathered in one spot, okay?
No, I don't. I'm gonna preempt you there. If all of the leaders are gathered in one spot, let them come to their own conclusion on whatever, exempt of him, and then perhaps after in a different forum, then you get together with him.
Right. That's what I'm saying.
Yes.
Depending on the agenda, I don't expect he's going to be in the room when everything
is being discussed. Yeah.
And at some time later, not before, because if he comes in before, it's almost like he's determining what the agenda is going to be.
Yes.
Right. Sometime after, then he can come and say what he wants, and we can present our ideas, our perspectives on whatever topic was deemed appropriate for him to be there.
Yeah.
Right. That would right. But you can't tell me that there would be no opportunity for the heads to get together before he speaks. Mm-hmm. You know, if he is indeed coming.
Look, if you look at history and you study history, this is what they do. It is an intimidation factor. Okay, whether it will work, let's see. Leave it to be seen. Our leaders still have to learn about tact and diplomacy. They don't seem to. I mean, how can you go into a position, you ask your people to vote for you so that you can lead them, and you don't know the relevance of those two words, tact and diplomacy?
Well, even beyond that, if we used to operate in the region in a more open and transparent way, we would not have to worry about this tact and diplomacy thing. Right?
Why
If,
not?
for instance,
Why not?
Because for the simple reason that the position, first of all, the leaders would have a good idea of what the populace thinks, okay, what the populace expect, their populations expect, right? And so too would the other countries that may be interested. Okay?
Yes, but Mr.
And
McMahon,
what that does, Quinn, is at least give the leaders some backing, moral support for whatever positions they eventually take.
yes, but Mr. McMahon, tact and diplomacy will always be relevant because it is a part of politics, right? And when you're dealing with people who history has shown that even when they sign treaties with you, it is a one-sided thing. They expect you to follow your end, but they don't follow theirs. This is why tact and diplomacy will always be relevant.
But and that is exactly why we should have open and transparent government. So
I
that you
agree.
don't go behind people's backs and make all kind of deals, and then for somebody to say later, well, this was not the intent, or we're not. That was not our interpretation, and so on. That's what tact and diplomacy does, eh?
No, but you're speaking of tact and diplomacy on your own people. I'm not speaking of that. I'm speaking of tact and diplomacy whenever you're dealing with that foreign interest, which always has the agenda of thinking that they can one-up you, that they're smarter than you, that they're more diplomatic than you, plus they have more power than you. So this is where tact and diplomacy, when you're dealing with them, comes into play. For instance, with what I said before with Jamaica and the students, tact and diplomacy here. Look, I hear you, kind sir, I hear you, but hey, give me some time. My students are going to finish their subject. Well, what are you going to do? Are you going to accommodate? When they come back here and they don't have those diplomas and they are not qualified, what can they contribute, and where will we put them? Who will take up that burden? So, kind sir, I hear you, but with all due respect, my students are going to finish their studies, and when they come back, we'll see what happens after that. Never give them a definitive, well, when they finish, our students come back and we will never send them back. I'm not going to tell you that. When they come back, well, we'll see where it goes from there.
Well, the thing is, tact and diplomacy works when your opponent also relates to tact and diplomacy.
They don't have to relate to tact. No, I disagree with you. So what are they going to do? Are they going to go in there?
Right attack. That's what they're going to do.
They can read. Look, this is what Mr. McMahon. Sometimes I don't like to say it, but sometimes I wonder. Sometimes I wonder if you really lack spine. Because the message you keep sending is that we always have to find a way to accommodate them, where we should always be trying to find a way to survive them. So how do we survive them if we're going to acquiesce every time?
What I am saying, Quinn, is that tact and diplomacy will only work if somebody is amenable to tact and diplomacy. Right? You can flatter your way, like what Kirstamo.
This is not flattering your way. Okay, let me be direct then. So I say to you, you're the U.S. You don't deal with tact and diplomacy. I say to you, kind sir, with the situation as it is, my students, they're poor students. They've been given grants and certain accommodating scholarships. I'm going to allow them to finish their studies, and then when they come back, we see from there. You're the U.S. You don't deal with tact and diplomacy. What are you going to do?
First of all, right, remember that the U.S. is going to look after its interests.
I asked you a point-blank question. I asked you, what are you going to do? I told you my position. Give me what are you going to do?
If I were the U.S. and I decided that I want them out, I'll just say, well, if you don't do this, I will pressure pressure you with visa visa restrictions, what do you do?
So we have to go
Me
to
and
the
you already
so
tapped on the
so
diplomacy
so we
now.
have to go. This is the thing that baffles me. So we have to go to the our people in the Caribbean have got to learn that our foreparents who survived that we are here today didn't have visas to go around the world. You know,
Well, okay,
they were stuck
fine.
on plantations in the proximity where they were.
But you see, Quint, and what I'm putting myself in the shoes now of the U.S.
And Ivan,
Look,
and I'm
you think
answering
they
you.
don't
I'm
know.
saying, I would say to you, which our leaders don't have the guts to do. I would say to you, with all due respect, sir, if we have to find a way to survive here, we will. I mean, our people will see where we can deal with this thing of you feeling that we have to,
Yes.
we can only
And
survive.
we-
You feeling that we can only survive when we come to your country. Look at what you're doing to us right now. So I'm gonna let them have this, and even when they have visas and they've lived over there and contributed at your will and fancy, you kick them out.
And I'm saying to you, Quint, that first of all, the U.S. realizes the difficulties the policies are inflicting on the rest of the region. So don't even come thinking that they don't know what they're doing.
That's why they're doing it. I agree.
Exactly, right? And so
they're doing it because our foolish leaders feel like the only way the United States is heaven, the United States is the promised land, the United States is utopia.
And that's where it comes back to the limitations of tact and diplomacy, because if we had an open and transparent government, right, they would be in a better position to stand up to any kind of bullying.
Open and transparency is of no moment if they're not united. That is the big problem, Mr. McMahon. I cannot say in good faith as one island, because then this is why we keep trying to point our leaders toward unity, you know. And the clip I'm going to play is going to show you what the world is doing, and we're seeing it happening. We're seeing more people, more like Canada and so forth, making alliances.
Quint, you just made that statement there, right? And I've been reflecting on that aspect of it. Do we really? Yes, it's easy to blame the leaders, but what about the people? Do you really feel that we are asking our leaders to really unite? We can't even unite
agree,
in our
but
own country.
You're right,
never mind other countries.
Mr. McMahon. This is why I agree with you 100%. Again, because the people aren't speaking up. They feel because of that little comfort level, they should hush their mouth, and then they go on the internet and their different whatever platforms, and they say things like, I can't do without my visa, you know. So they're sending a message to the leaders that, well, you better watch how you step with our visa. This is it.
Worth the subtle pressure that now even your posts and so on are going to be monitored.
That's it. Yeah.
Right. So going back to the original thought, right? Tact and diplomacy is fine if your opponent is amenable to it.
I don't care. Look, Mr. McMahon, I disagree with you.
Mr.
McMahon,
how do you confront a bully? Let me hear you.
Mr. McMahon, when the house slave was in the house, and not all the house slaves were passive, you know. A lot of the house slaves, even though they weren't in the majority, were the ones who gave the field slave the messages as to what the master was going to do and when he was going to do it. What do you call that? You know what that is? That is tact and diplomacy. We don't look at it that way. So what the slave in the house did is that he smiled in front of he or she smiled in front of the master's face, and he said, "Yes, sir, master, sir." And when he made a slip, the master put him outside or her outside and whip them soundly in front of the field slave to show, if I can deal this way with my house slaves, how I'm going to deal with you. And the house slave goes back in, and for the next 2 weeks or so, the house slave is so docile. Oh, master, master, sir, I'm so sorry, sir. I won't do it again, master, sir. But in their heads, they have a plot. And in the end, that plot will come to fruition. And some slaves will be moving along the underground railway or whatever. I am saying when you are in a compromising position, you use your savvy and acumen to survive. That is what tact and diplomacy is. The problem, listen here, the problem that you make and we make is that we think that tact and diplomacy is only to deal with politics on a certain level. That is the mistake that you make.
I'm saying you're getting confused with tact and diplomacy and strategy. That is not tact and diplomacy. Right?
Okay, in your definition, what is tact and diplomacy? In your definition,
the way I see tact and diplomacy is if you have a partner or somebody who you're negotiating with, right? Who you can show your point of view, your perspective.
That is why I tell you.
Without confrontation, right? That is tact and diplomacy. But when you have somebody opposite the table, right, who is immune to things like flattery, and who came not with the intention to negotiate, but with the intention to actually bully or demand, right? No possibility of compromise, but to demand this is the way it's going to be. You can do all the tact and diplomacy and flattery and whatever.
Mr. McMahon, because of your mindset, because your mindset is naturally passive, and because your mindset is to compromise so that you can survive at all times, that does not mean, that is why again I say to you, you can have a word and it has 10 different definitions. Tact, break down all the definitions, look it up in the dictionary, and you will see tact is to be smart, is to be savvy. To be diplomatic means that you know when to move on a certain format as opposed as when not to and how not to. But we put it into a political context, and we feel that it only applies when you're dealing with politics. It does not. And here's where you say without confrontation. So the house slave is in the house. Is he or she having a confrontation with the master? No. The master is not aware of what is being planned. He's not aware of what will happen. And because he's not aware, that is tact. And you're being diplomatic because the master feels that you're quite accommodating. The master says, hear what the master says around his dinner table to the other plantation owners. Oh, look at Quint. Boy, I gave him a sound whipping the other day, and I can assure you he will never make that mistake again. That is what I'm speaking about.
Which was the message sent, I think, in Venezuela. Well, but let's look at it in a practical sense.
And you had to go. You see where you had to go? Which was the message? You see where you have to go, Mr. McMahon? Look at the message sent. Look at the message sent in. What the U.S. did with Maduro was illegal. They only did it because...
But it was done still.
And then you're glorifying it. You're using it as an example to say to everyone else. You're using it as an example to say to everyone else, see what was done in Venezuela? When they come, bow, crawl, and acquiesce. That is what you're saying.
Why are you stretching it like that?
Because that is what you're saying. Because you always get back to the... Well, that is what I imply, and that is what I garner from the fact that you're always going back there, and the times when you go back there. The times when you go back there is just about the time when we should be saying, okay, let's find a way to survive, and you always point us back to, no, but you can't survive because these people aren't about your survival. Do what they want.
That's what I'm saying. I never said that. I'm sure.
Well, you're not saying it right directly.
I'm sure that you've
You
heard
have
me say
you have not said it directly, but you've been implying it
many,
all the time.
Many instances that we should find some way of resisting this, and I've actually suggested some actual practical things.
You have.
Right?
You have.
Okay, right.
You
So
have,
what-
but when you,
so
but
what I'm saying-
but soon after you've done that, no sooner that you've done that, and we think, and I think that okay, we're following down a path where Mr. McMahon is going to realize that maybe just maybe there's a way that we can survive. You always bring us back to, but remember, okay, that they're powerful, okay. Remember that they are not amenable. Remember that they are not amenable to.
That's the hard reality.
But
If
our
you
foreparents.
if you want to study,
I have
naively
said,
think
I
that
have.
these people cannot hurt us. Well, that's a matter for you.
I have
But the
said,
fact is they
Mr.
can.
McMahon, and I said it this morning. The problem is, we feel we live in a world that is all nice and dandy, okay? And because the world is all nice and dandy, we expect things to go smooth. If we wake up to the reality of life, we realize it's a harsh world. It's an unfeeling, uncaring world. Especially where the superpowers lie. And because it is that way, we have got to find ways to determine, okay, so will we just go along and be subservient and trampled on, or will we, not everybody, because check out, they only need a few leaders. It is the majority aren't leaders. You need a few leaders who can get the people, which you suggested before, to come together and say, look, they did it in Grenada. When they wanted to put that plant there, what did the people do? They went out on the street and they say, no, don't put it there.
Yes, and do you see that replicated? Have you seen that replicated throughout the region? No.
But I've said I've agreed with you on that. There are points when I agree with you, but the one thing I disagree with you is that you keep pointing me back toward that I must let people walk on me.
And you see and that's what I'm saying. I don't know what I said that indicated that. I don't know what I said that make you feel.
Well,
like
there's a listening audience out there, you know, so I'm sure I'm not the only one who has that
all I'm saying is that you should take notice of how your opponent is acting and react accordingly.
And I agree. That is why I say be tactful.
Right.
That is why I say be tactful.
Right, and all I'm saying too, right, I was giving you an example, just an example. If you are the U.S. negotiators, you want let's say, be practical and say, we want total isolation of Cuba, okay? And this is what we expect you to do, right? And you come with your tact and diplomacy and say, well this, well that, well that. And your opponent repeats the same thing, right? That's all I was saying. Tact and diplomacy only works if you have somebody that is amenable to it.
And
I said,
Mr. McMahon, I hear you sometimes, but you don't hear me. I said, Mr. McMahon, and this is the fact. The U.S. wants what it wants, and it will go for what it wants. That is an undeniable fact. Let's not beat around or dally around it. They know what they want. They have ways of trying to get it. I am saying that the Caribbean region and the Caribbean leaders need to unite together in a way that we can. Here's the thing. I'm not the only one who's going to be tactful, you know. All of us are going to be tactful. You listen to an interview with this individual who came out of MAGA, and all of a sudden he seems to be against Trump. And he had this interview with 3 African leaders. And the man was trying to guide them down a certain way, trying to make them look foolish and embarrass them. And between the three of them, the answers that they gave, he would come from one, and when he realized it's not working, he twists the conversation a bit and he puts it to another one. And all of them was savvy to him. And all of them moved in a way that by the end of the day, he looked like the fool. And that is what I'm saying. I am saying we are not in a position to fight with you or anything like that, but we will use our little tactics here and there, and you will, because remember, there's a whole world watching. And again, I want to play this clip, so I'm going to take a bit of a commercial break, and when I come back, I'm going to play this clip. Okay? Okay. And as always, we're not enemies. We're always going to get heated, and I love the fact that we can get heated like this, and you say what is on your mind, and I say what is on my mind.
Of course.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what it's about.
Yes.
Right.
So I'll be right back after this bit of a break.
We're different. We're 98.9. 98.9. Win FM.
Caribbean numbers, come and play. Just one single dollar, that is the way. You can pick one number or two or three. I win up to 20,000, you see. 3 ways to play, 3 draws a day, 3 ways to win. Hear what we say. Caribbean numbers is the easiest game to play.
The new Caribbean numbers.
So play today.
At any Caribbean lottery agent island-wide.
So play today.
Rams the good food people, always there to serve you. Rams the good food people, locations right near you. Rams the good food people, in-store specials for you. Rams the good food people. When you need better service, Rams is always here. Better value, better prices, Rams is always here. You want your loyalty, Rams is always here. We are community, we are family. We are family. Rams for you and me. We are community. Rams for you and me.
Come, build with us at Hostels Building and Nevis Centers. We don't just sell materials, we help you build your dreams. Whether it's a new home, a renovation, or a DIY project, we're here to make it happen. That's why we say, build with us from foundation to finish. Come to our stores where we have the best in building materials, hardware, tools, paints, expert advice, and more. Whatever you need, you can count on us. So if you're ready to get started, build with us. With Hostels Building and Nevis Centers, you're not just building a structure, you're building a future. Let us help you create something amazing. Dream with us, plan with us, grow with us, build with us. Come build with us at Hostels Building and Nevis Centers today. Build with us at Hostels.
Hey kids, it's chubby time. I have to go to school and learn and play with my friends too. Every day is fun day, 'cause I love my chubby chubby. Chubby, 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 chubby. Lots of flavors for me to choose. Every day they keep me cool. It fits my handmade just for me. Everybody loves chubby. Chubby, 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 chubby. Every day is fun day. Chubby.
And I'm back with you, and we're running out of time, but I want to make sure that I can squeeze in this clip here because it speaks to the fact that it speaks to what I've been saying. The United States is showing itself to be what it really is. Yes, it is true that they have a particular leader, but even before this leader, they were doing the very same thing, but in more subtle ways. They were imposing things upon us. They were making demands that they know will always leave us in an uncomfortable position. but they were using in their sense of the word tact and diplomacy. Unfortunately, or perhaps fortunately, we have a leader now who does not delve into tact and diplomacy. He's blunt. He's straightforward. He goes for what he wants. He's not trying to be nice about it. He's just wanting it. And so the rest of the world is faced with the problem of how do they cope and how do we survive. It is true that we in the Caribbean region, the small archipelago of islands, are not in a position to fight the big old, great old US of A. And the US of A is quite aware of that. But there's a big wider world. And fortunately for us, not everyone has the mindset of the West. Unfortunately, though, we in this hemisphere have been led to believe that those who come and say democracy are our saviors. We should be waking up to the reality that those who come and say democracy have not been our saviors and do not intend to be our saviors. It is like in the Bible when it says, not all who comes and says, Lord, Lord, and speaking my name are such. That is the position we find ourselves in. So how does the world deal with that? I'm going to play you a clip that shows you what China is doing. And Mr. McMahon tends to feel that no one can in any way affect the U.S. We're not going to expect to drastically affect the U.S. one time, but there's a subtle way to do things. There's a tactful way of doing things. The United States goes into Venezuela, takes out a leader, knowing that there was a prior arrangement with China, knowing that China invested billions of dollars into that place, and the rest of the world looks back and says, so what can China do? Oh, let them take that. But there are ways to deal with those things. Listen to this clip.
After the Trump administration asserted control over 50 million barrels of Venezuelan crude, Washington swiftly terminated the existing energy arrangements between Caracas and Beijing. It didn't stop there. The U.S. also made it clear that any pricing decisions regarding Venezuelan oil would now fall entirely under American authority. In an unexpected turn, China responded by suspending all imports of Venezuelan crude and announcing that ships carrying Venezuelan oil would not be allowed to dock at Chinese ports, regardless of their origin. This decision disrupted Washington's broader strategy. The key question is, why would China walk away from Venezuelan oil altogether? Venezuela quietly holds some of the largest proven reserves in the world, estimated at roughly 300 billion barrels, placing it ahead of countries like Saudi Arabia, Iran, and Iraq. Geographically, Venezuela sits close to the United States, but politically and economically it has often positioned itself in opposition to Washington and the US dollar system. That stance made it a consistent target of American sanctions. Beginning in 2017, the United States intensified restrictions on Venezuela's energy sector. U.S. companies were barred from standard dealings with PDVSA, Venezuela's state-owned oil firm. Assets tied to the company within the U.S. financial system were frozen, and transactions involving Venezuelan oil were cut off from dollar-based settlement. The consequences were severe. Even when Venezuela managed to sell oil, receiving payment became extremely complicated. Because global energy markets are still largely dollar-driven, being excluded from the dollar system significantly limited Venezuela's ability to conduct normal trade. The pressure escalated in 2019, when Washington recognized opposition leader Juan Guaido as Venezuela's interim president and transferred control of Citgo to his camp. Citgo, a U.S.-based refining and marketing company fully owned by Venezuela, operates major refineries and an extensive gas station network across the United States. It had long served as one of Venezuela's most reliable sources of foreign revenue. By shifting control away from the Maduro government, the U.S. effectively cut off a crucial financial lifeline. Legally, the move was framed not as confiscation, but as a transfer to what Washington considered the legitimate leadership of Venezuela. As a result of these constraints, Venezuela frequently had to sell its oil at discounted prices, rely on middlemen, or wait extended periods for payment. What should have been straightforward trade became a matter of economic survival. The United States acted as a gatekeeper, influencing where and how Venezuelan oil could enter the global market. For years, China had maintained a steady partnership with Venezuela through an oil-backed loan arrangement. Beijing extended approximately $60 billion in financing, to be repaid through oil shipments priced below global benchmarks. The structure eased Venezuela's fiscal burden while ensuring China a consistent energy supply. However, once Washington tightened its oversight of Venezuelan oil flows, the framework supporting this cooperation shifted dramatically. Earlier this year, the U.S. Energy Secretary indicated that Venezuelan crude previously priced around $31 per barrel would be adjusted upward to about $45, a rise exceeding 40%. But the price increase was only part of the story. More significantly, the United States aimed to impose new compliance standards, dictating the procedures, shipping routes, and settlement methods that buyers would need to follow. Purchasing Venezuelan oil would require adherence to American-defined rules, reinforcing U.S. leverage over the transaction process. Beijing viewed these developments as political interference in commercial affairs. On January 27th, reports emerged that China's major oil companies had been instructed to suspend all dealings related to Venezuelan crude. Cargoes already in transit were halted, outstanding payments were paused, and ongoing negotiations were shelved. The decision amounted to a comprehensive withdrawal from Venezuelan oil imports. It also signaled a broader strategic stance regarding control, sovereignty, and the evolving power dynamics within global energy markets. From Beijing's perspective, the priority has been avoiding entry into a U.S.-dominated trade framework. If China were to purchase Venezuelan oil marketed under U.S. oversight and pricing, it would effectively be operating within a system designed and regulated by Washington. Participation in that structure typically requires transactions in U.S. dollars and reliance on dollar clearing mechanisms. There is also the legal and political dimension. U.S. management and redistribution of Venezuelan oil has been surrounded by international legal controversy. By agreeing to transact under those terms, China could be seen as implicitly accepting the legitimacy of that arrangement. This would undermine previously negotiated agreements between China and Venezuela, which had already established pricing formulas, supply volumes, and settlement currencies in advance. China's decision to pause purchases of Venezuelan oil, handled through U.S. channels, therefore carried significant weight. Washington's broader objective is not necessarily to hold Venezuelan energy assets indefinitely, but to convert them into revenue quickly. When China stepped back, it disrupted that short-term plan. In response, the United States explored alternative buyers, including India, reportedly offering tariff flexibility in hopes of redirecting supply and drawing New Delhi further into a Western-aligned energy network, rather than one connected to Russia or Iran. Public appeals were also made encouraging China to reconsider. Instead of responding rhetorically, Beijing signaled its position through policy, halting those specific purchases while speeding up diversification of its overall energy import sources. From this angle, the core issue was not the cost of oil itself, but the structure of the trading environment. Entering a framework where one party can adjust rules unilaterally raises long-term strategic concerns. Accepting such terms once could open the door to repeated pressures in the future. If a major economy like China were to concede under those circumstances, smaller economies might find themselves with even fewer options. This could shift the balance of the global system toward power-based leverage rather than mutually agreed rules. This broader pattern has led some nations to argue that extended use of financial and energy systems as instruments of pressure raises sovereignty concerns. Resource-rich countries face the challenge of restoring production capacity, rebuilding market confidence, and strengthening domestic governance so that control over their assets firmly resides at home. If stability returns and export systems diversify beyond dollar-centered mechanisms, the strategic implications could be substantial. From Washington's viewpoint, the long-term concern may not be a temporary reduction in shipments, but the possibility that major producers regain autonomous decision-making power and integrate their resources into alternative global frameworks.
Yes. So you take a people's oil, and you decide now, having taken a people's oil, which was under a prior arrangement, because you're Mr. Big Bully, you take that oil and now you're giving it to the very same person who had a prior arrangement with the person whose oil you're taking. Because you're Mr. Big Bully, you say, well, you know you need oil, so I jack up the price and I say, buy it. And this is where tact and diplomacy comes into play. Because China is now using policy, and China is saying, okay, well, I need oil, but I can get oil from and even if it means I have to move expeditiously to be more sufficient in certain energy ways, I will do that, but I won't be taking any oil from you. as long as it's coming from Venezuela, because I had I put billions into Venezuela, but you, Mr. Bully, just decided nullify that. But here's the problem that the U.S. has now. You thought that you could take that oil, and because oil is in demand, you could just get it off and make a big markup. But no one wants to buy it. The main person who would have bought that oil says, no, I don't want it. So it's on your hands now. You understand? That is not proper commerce the way you would want it to go. Your thing was get it off as quickly as possible, make a profit. Now it's on your hands. Those are the ways the world will have to deal with the big bully, the US of A. Let me see if I can entertain just this call. Hello? And be very brief. Hello? Be very brief, because I'm practically out of time.
Yes. Quint, remember Chesley said that it is okay to have more than one policies in the Caribbean. Everybody don't have to have the same policy. You could go along with America, or you could go like Kamala, or you could go against America. Everybody decide what is best for them. So they don't have to go. Caribbean don't have to have one policy.
That's it. I agree. Yeah.
That's what Chesley Hamilton said.
Thanks for that reminder. Yeah, and well said too.
Yeah, and let me quickly also say, Quinn, the Bible is the only word of God, and it is the only source of all truth, wisdom, knowledge, insight, and so on. And Jesus Christ is the King of all kings and the Lord of all lords. The Bible is the word of God, the mouth of God.
Okay.
Thank you very much, Quinn. God bless.
Same to you. And that's how we're going to end things for today. Yes, we have different options. Why is it that we just feel... Why? Because America says we're in their backyard? We're not in America's backyard. We are in America's proximity. When you're in someone's backyard, it means you are on their property. My backyard is in my property. My neighbors have their own property and their own backyards. So we in the Caribbean are neighbors of the U.S. We're not in America's backyard. America doesn't own us. Do take care.